Do you think it's a good thing that Tucker Carlson interviewed Putin?
Sure, why not? I mean, I would have done things differently, but that's me. Tucker did it the way he did it, but yeah, and ultimately, it is what it is. It didn't get a lot of play, and not in mainstream media.
It was hard. It was because it was just a history lesson essentially. So it wasn't like the most attractive piece of content.
I thought a lot of it was he let him speak uninterrupted for a very long period of time.
But you have to understand the context.
I agree. I think
didn't most people criticize him after the interview?
Yeah, I think he said like, "Oh, those were like softball questions," but it's kind of like from Tucker's perspective. I mean, I'm sure I'd probably.
How far could you push in?
Yeah, horrified.
What do you mean? How far could you push?
Yeah, like how hardball questions can you ask? How much can you try to break through?
That's what you're supposed to do.
But in a foreign country with some Putin,
of course.
I think there's an element of danger where Tucker might feel like if he pushed too hard, there might be.
Don't do the interview if you're going to do that.
But I also think in the same way that like Tucker can be asking questions and people are looking for Putin's answers, they can also learn a lot by just watching and listening to Putin talk, I mean, even Putin deflecting a question is him giving a different answer.
Yeah, but remember, Putin is waging a war on Ukraine and deserves to be held to account for that. And many other things, and for, the possible interfering in elections and spying on. There are a lot of things that Putin need to be asked.
Yeah.
If you're not going to ask him, I don't think you should do the interview.
What do you think is a positive thing about yourself that is overlooked, that people don't acknowledge?
Well, generally, I don't know if it's a positive thing, but I think people don't really understand who I am. They don't really know me. Most of the criticism of me or what people know have been through, especially in these platforms like podcasts and conservative media. It's been through. I've been a character on Fox News, or a character on some social media platform, or a character on a podcast that has created a caricature of me, of someone who you think I am, and I'm not that person. And I think it's mostly from conservatives, and a lot of it is from the MAGA folks, like because Donald Trump didn't have facts or truth on his side. So what did he do? He banged the table. If you don't have the truth, if you're not winning, you bang the table. So when I would point out lies or inconsistencies or, anything that he did wrong during his administration or his run up to becoming president, then people would criticize me and think that I was this ultra left person because I was simply pointing out truth and facts. Truth and facts don't have a political party, and they don't have an ideology. And I think that I think it was easy to sort of paint me as someone who's out to get Donald Trump or out to get Elon Musk because of a previous bias that people have about me, or just because of who I am. You think that I'm a gay black man, I'm going to feel a certain way about DEI, on and on. So I think that's, maybe it's a little bit of unconscious bias by people. Some of it may be warranted. I'm not perfect, but I think for the most part, people don't really know me.
Although you may deem those as invalid criticisms of yourself, what do you think?
It's just criticism. I mean, it's valid or invalid. I'm just telling you my perspective on it.
Sure. But it seems as though you kind of insinuated that it was invalid, those criticisms.
Yeah. I said it's not who I am. They don't know me.
So what do you think is a valid criticism of yourself?
I think a valid criticism is that I'll ask any question.
But that's a good thing.
That's a constructive criticism. You said valid. I say constructive. That's a good criticism. I'll ask. I'm not afraid to ask anybody anything. I don't care who you are.
What do you think would be a valid shortcoming of yourself?
A valid shortcoming. I think sometimes I can become a little emotional when people, I shouldn't say, sometimes I don't diffuse the situation. And people become upset.
I will say
because I don't suffer fools.
In terms of getting to know you, one of the things that I've noticed in doing research on you is very difficult to find information about you in terms of your personal experiences. And I think if you were to open up about more like personal topics and stories and experiences, and I don't know, maybe I'm just looking.
I love that.
Places,
I mean, he also did this cool CNN video of him where you like went back where you like went to the South and you saw like the city that like your ancestors grew up in.
Yeah,
Remember
I
that
went
thing?
to Africa.
And you went to Africa. Yeah, that was
tracing my route.
that was. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
that was a cool video.
Yeah.
But I also
sharing
agree
more personal experiences
Yeah.
would
What do you
humanize
think?
you in a way. that-
I have shared more about myself than I think any other journalist on television.
Really?
I came out very early. I talk about my family. See,
I guess we're getting
well, the
fed
thing is,
different.
yes,
yeah.
because you don't watch the news. People
No.
didn't watch my show, but they had an idea of what they thought my show was because they either saw Tucker calling me Don Lemon or people on Twitter criticizing something they saw on Fox News or, on a conservative blog or on a podcast. And so they didn't actually sit down and to take the time to actually watch my show or listen with a clear ear about what I was saying. So I think that, that's the issue.
Well,
I
think-
shared more about myself than I think probably any journalist on television.
Fair.
Well, I think it's great that you're doing podcasts like this because then hopefully it can break that echo chamber so
Yeah.
people can get an idea to something that they haven't been exposed to.
But also, I mean, I don't know if it's criticism, but I don't mind that people don't like me. I don't know that maybe that's bad. I don't mind that people.
No, I think that, for your own mental
Yeah.
health, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.